Sorry, you can see my screen. You can see me. Oh, wait, let's make sure you're sharing my screen. All right, cool. All right, you got me. You got me in the house. But what I was saying, it is such a pleasure and a treat for me to see all of you gathered here, assembled, our little congregation, to tackle some of these midwinter issues that may arise. I've been looking forward to this for weeks. It was really hard for me. If you couldn't tell, it's really hard for me to say goodbye. So when the 5-week program ended, I wasn't necessarily prepared for to come to grips with how much I kind of looked forward to it each week. And not only the process of preparing the material and thinking about the guests and thinking about how to present things, but really just how to serve all of you in some way and how to help, just in some small way, provide a little levity, provide a little clarity, and maybe a little bit of a kick in the ass in terms of your perseverance, your accountability for perseverance. And some of the feedback I got on the first 5 sessions was great. You guys sent some really cool notes. And I don't know if my friend Gloria is on the line from New Orleans, but Gloria sent me a nice note. Yes, that's right, Gloria. She sent me a nice note just saying that the 5-week program really changed as we went through. So it started out as one thing and it evolved into something a little bit different. And she loved it all the way through. However, her note was that we got away from this idea of habits, creating really powerful structured habits to support our non-negotiables, to support our resolutions, to support who we are in this crazy, busy, chaotic life. So I want to let you a little bit behind the curtain and tell you why that is. And I'll start with just kind of a quick recap of what I've been up to, if you're interested, if you want to know what Chris has been up to in the last few weeks. How many weeks has it been anyway? Does anybody know? A couple? I don't know. I saw the Lego movie, and it was dope. I'll tell you that much. All right, here we go. You guys can see my screen? Come on, Cynthia Morris. It seems a little quiet out there. I need to know that you can see my screen and I'll get rolling. Gotcha. All right. All right, Martin. So this is where we started. 2014 needs to be completely different. And I definitely recognize that coming into the year. As I mentioned on the last session, I had to double down on all of my non-negotiables because I just felt this intense raising of the stakes in all areas of my life. There's many higher expectations of me on my work life, and usually the work tends to pull all the other non-negotiables with it. So that means I had to strengthen my meditation practice, strengthen my vitality practice, certainly spend more time with my family because they have all sorts of growing and evolving needs. So here's what I've been up to. Sadly, I have not been launching my This Epic Life model rocket, but I could guarantee you if this winter ever does thaw, my ass will be out there launching the rocket. Before I jump into this, too, I want to let you know I did secure a last-minute guest today just to support our topic today. So our topic really is happiness, how to reconcile that with winter, particularly this harsh winter that we're having in the Midwest, and revisit the idea of habits. So I asked a dear friend of mine, Lauren Neff, she's a professional coach, to join us. She's also a business owner, amazing woman. I'll have her up in a little bit. But so why the idea of happiness in midwinter? Well, I try to keep my pulse on or try to keep my finger on the pulse of the vibe of our community, on humanity in general, and I just have sensed that everyone's been having a hard time. And part of it, a little bit, and this might sound egotistical, is that I know that if I'm having a hard time, chances are a lot of people are having a hard time. And I'm more so coming from the perspective that the whole practice of yoga is to really feel your unity with all other people. So I tend to really monitor my own internal barometer and my emotions and stuff. And the past few weeks have been tough. They've been pretty radical. So I thought, just on a hunch that other people were having a hard time as well. So what was interesting, I got a lot of reinforcement for my theory here, and I'll share that with you in a second. But on the soul practice tip, Greg Berg, that's really cold. Greg Berg out west is saying, oh, it's winter, we forget out here. And, so he's like, 75 degrees and sunny. What I remember about living on the West Coast, though, Greg, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that there is a monotony to not having seasons as well. So too many days of sunshine feels like a permanent depressing vacation sometimes. So I was probably more depressed when I lived in LA. Granted, I didn't have all the cool practices I have now to support myself, but you know, what my wife and I find some comfort in is that it's not easy for anybody, regardless of where they live or how rich they are. That's my theory anyway. Yeah, he says truth, truth, hashtag truth. All right, so my soul practice, I've actually been doing really well with this. I meditate. I've been keeping up the 60 minutes per day, 75 minutes. A lot of times the timer runs out and I'll sit for an extra half hour. And some really cool experiences have come from this. I went to a Pimps and Hoes party with my wife, spent a little couple time together away from the kids. This is what we looked like. We didn't win a prize, sadly. I was actually sick when this picture was taken, but we still won anyway and represented the Pimps and Hoes. The unexpected thing that came out of the January show was that I started playing a lot more music, and there's been a few things. A friend looped me into his little plan to designate Friday as Funky Fridays, so I drop a live funk loop groove every week, as well as this idea of bass meditation, something I'm super excited about that I never really had the courage to do over the past couple of years. I've threatened myself to do it and pushed myself to do it, but it just felt really kind of self-indulgent, overly creative, a little bit ethereal. But you know, the process is I meditate for 45 or 60 minutes, and then I come in here, I drop 6 minutes of live, unscripted, totally improv bass loops, and then I sit down at the mic and no prep, hit record, and drop 6 minutes of knowledge straight off the top of my dome. And it's been a really interesting process because I feel like it prepares me for more extemporaneous speaking opportunities, but also it really helps me see what the major themes have been in the last couple of weeks and helping myself process. And I really appreciate the feedback you guys have given me so far. Greg Berg, for instance, dropped some keyboard parts on the first one and sent me back my bass meditation with these awesome spacey keyboard parts. I thought that was so badass. That is the purpose, or that's the power of the internet. Hey, Ryan Berg, I really appreciate it. He says that they're incredible. You know, I think what's incredible about it is that it's so simple, and my goal with it truly is to show the power of clarity when you totally clear your channel of all static. So I spend 45 minutes, 60 minutes meditation clearing my channel and just removing all of my self-doubt, removing my inner critic, and trust me, I have a big one. He whacks a big fucking gavel, and Judge Judy like, no! I'm a Virgo, plus I'm type A, type AA, really. My parents are both type A. So the purpose is to remove that, you know, kind of layer of static and just do something pure from the heart. The last record I did of music, I was actually unhappy with how overproduced it was, so I wanted to do something unscripted, and it's been really powerful. Wow, and I just got a great note from Melissa Galt that she's been working with Cynthia and been loyal on meditating. It's become a habit. Melissa, that's huge. When I met you, when I meet everybody, I think, you know, I kind of assess everybody could use meditation. I talk to myself in the mirror thinking, like, you need to meditate more. But it was one of those things where I knew you would really benefit from, so I'm hoping you're loving it. By the way, we'll talk about some of my success stories from January, specifically all of you in a minute. All right, family tip. We took this family trip last weekend. Check out the sass on my girl Frankie's face. It's really hard to travel with your kids in the dead of winter and tons of snow, but we got out. We rented a place in Columbus and had just a great time. Work has been going full tilt. I can't even explain. Like, so this was our sales conference, 240 Central people gathered of our 450 staff. I designed all the on-site training and a lot of the event, from the theme down to intro music, all sorts of madness, but it was a real success, you know, and again, it was something like you finish doing that, you think you'll get a break, and all of a sudden they raise the bar 10 times higher, so that's kind of where I am now. Here's other pictures of the conference. This is right before you walk in the main hall, some of the banners that we have up, and we're a digital media company, by the way. So that brings us to today's topics. We have a few forces of nature. You know, like my thought, I was going to tweet this earlier, it was that I want to send this particular week back to hell from whence it came. It's just a harsh McHarsherson. It's tough. And I think it's this retrograde Mercury business. Like, even logging into this webinar, it was just total madness. You know, like computer stuff, like getting glitchy, whatever, people being, not people on the webinar, but people at work being more difficult to work with than normal. So my idea yesterday yesterday was that I'm about to flip the script on this retrograde Mercury stuff and just start fucking everything up on purpose because it'll just like cut out the middleman. It'll cut out the like, you know, me like raising my hands to the sky like numerous times throughout the day, like, universe, why? Are you mad? But a lot of people are going through this. And then this was my other note for my Midwest brothers and sisters was be strong. Your internal weather is all that matters. And I truly do believe that. You know, I read Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. Is written by a Holocaust survivor from the belly of the beast of the internment camps. This gentleman went in and totally flipped his mindset to become a place where he was actually, by the end of his journey there, he was actually counseling his oppressors on how to deal with their guilt and shame. To show you how powerful that is to manage your internal weather, your internal perception, your internal lens on how you interpret and process the entire experience of life. It is something that has saved my ass more times than I could possibly count. And what I'm realizing is that the more I focus on it, the more I focus on the lens statement, the meditation practice, the running practice, the taking better care of myself than I was ever taught how to, is that it all helps to manage this idea of internal weather. Yeah, Heather Stimmel Hall, that's a great question. Isn't Mercury in retrograde 25% of the year? It's something like that. It's a pretty high percentage, but it comes in waves, and it's more intense at different points. I don't know if you believe in astrology. I tend to believe in everything all the time. I think you know that about me. But I don't know the exact percentage, but it's a good chunk. I mean, it lasts about 3.5 weeks each time it comes in, and it's usually more intense at the start and more intense at the end. And right now we're at the tail end of it, so I kind of know I've been down this road before. All right, so I wanted to talk a little bit about this concept of digging out. So even before we could get back to managing our internal weather to set ourselves up for massive achievement, with resolutions, with goals, productivity, creativity, all those things, we also have to know some tools of digging out. And digging out is, of course, referring to what happens when we step in one of those emotional potholes, like cyclical depression, or these forces way outside of our control that just tend to lead us around by our hair. How do we manage that? So I want to talk a little bit about digging out. I heard this great quote today in a talk by one of the Sisters of Self-Realization Fellowship. She's a female, she's a nun. They don't call them female monks. But this idea of what you don't change, you choose. And it was one of those ones that kind of punched me in the gut and made me think, when do we catch a break? When does it get any easier? And trust me, there are so many areas in my life, and hopefully I've expressed some of those to you, where everything just tends to flow, and there's lots of ease in my life that I'm insanely grateful for. However, this idea of you cannot cut any corners has been reinforced all throughout my life, and the company I work for really believes this. We were founded by a Mennonite who did a lot of farming as a kid, and there's no shortcuts in farming. And I honestly think that the more you subscribe to this belief that what you don't change, you choose, the more empowered you become, the more capable you become to not only handle all the crap that's thrown at you, but to really create the massive levels of change. Because as a yogi, I truly believe that we're not just processing the shitty habits that we pick up in this life. Granted, I have my own laundry list. I grew up in the suburbs of Ohio where, you learn to drink at the age of 14. You get exposed to pornography at a young age. On and on and on. Name shoplifting, all this stuff. And when I take a step back and I think about my spirituality practice, it really teaches me that maybe some of this luggage, depending on your beliefs, maybe some of this luggage we bring with us from prior lifetimes in the forms of karma. And there are a lot of inexplicable bad habits that we all have, but this little quote was a little bit of a key to unlock some of that. I just heard it this morning. What you don't change, you choose. And I don't choose any of the things that hold me back. I don't think any of us do. We tend to play the part of victim, or we say, I didn't choose this, but I guess I'm stuck with it. Well, I say screw all of that. We do have the capacity to make these tweaks, and it starts on that little tiny battleground of the quietest voice. And that is, of course, like, maybe you should meditate. My voice isn't that quiet, but maybe you should take care of yourself and make some of the better choices that set you up. I got this note today, no, actually yesterday or the day before from one of you, and it really touched me, and I think this really encapsulates what people are up against in these tough months. So we come into January with all this hope and optimism, and then we go into a place of just different types of tests. And she wrote, I'm so glad these are starting up this week. I don't know, and she was referring to the show this week, I don't know if it's winter or Mercury or turning 40 or just cyclical depression, but I've been really struggling the past couple weeks. I've been trying to keep it to myself so I don't freak people out with how profoundly sad I am. Trying to claw my way out of it. Going for a massage tonight and acupuncture on the weekend. Not sure if they'll help, but I need to try something. So what I did here is I dropped out everything but what I think are the real clues. And Marion echoed that she's been feeling the exact same way too, and that's so brave of you to say that, Marion. In case you haven't guessed, I've been feeling a little bit of that. Not completely helpless because my life doesn't afford me the time to be completely helpless, but being at a loss for what else can I do other than meditate more, other than hug on my kids more, other than try to establish more connection. So that's what I want to talk about. I want to try to help lead this person a little bit up the emotional scale, so they get from that point of despair or helplessness up into hope, optimism, love, bliss. And all of us swing wildly like a pendulum between those two ends of the scale. And I'll tell you just a little bit of a clue if you don't know anything about the emotional scale. The best source for the emotional scale is Abraham Hicks. If you've ever studied their work, it's going to sound out there to you, but it's channeled information. This woman and husband, they started it, and this woman basically taps into some level of intelligence that is just very radical for the human plane. I've had my mind blown by them for over a decade, and I could go on and on about them. But anyway, the emotional scale, the tipping point between the positive emotions where we want to be and where we want to live and where we create great stuff, and all the negative emotions where we start, falling down into helplessness. The trapdoor emotion is boredom. Boredom is a mofo, and I recognize now in retrospect how bad it screwed with me in my early 20s and early 30s. And I think it screws with a lot of people, a lot of teenagers certainly, is what, like idle hands are the devil's playground. It's definitely the case. When you're bored, you slip into negativity, you slip into blame, anger, and on and on. So we'll talk about that in a second. But so here's the clues in here. These factors: winter, Mercury, turning 40, clinical depression. This really hurt me. Profoundly sad I am. But the hope, going for a massage, acupuncture, I need to try something. That alone shows me that this person is raising their minimum standard, that they've reached a level of awareness within their own psyche, that they will not tolerate all that gray shit that comes before it, that they are making a stand, that they know they need to make some tweaks and make some adjustments. They are choosing to change things. And I will tell you, that is a huge foothold to have in your own life's journey. There's so many people that just, accept feeling like shit or accept feeling, manic on the other side without the balance. And, the balance really leads us forward. We need the bad and the tough and the hard side of the duality to force us to make great choices to lead ourselves forward. And this is a person making some choices. All right, I'm going to jump over to the lens because I don't feel like I covered these properly last time. I was having a lot of technical issues, and I think I had a poll blocking the screen, but I love to celebrate your lens statements because, A, they inspire the crap out of me, but also it reminds me to recite my own. It is a habit that I did establish very firmly in January, was this idea of reciting my lens statement to myself 3 times a day minimum, and I do it right after I meditate. So when I was talking about those base meditations where I kind of trust the best stuff to come through me when I'm a clear channel, I also know the best stuff will be received by me when I'm a clear channel. So I clear my head through meditation. I spend a good amount of time doing it, recite my lens statement, and then all of a sudden when I get up, I remember, oh yeah, that's who the hell you're trying to be. This is who you are. This is what matters to you. These are your non-negotiables. This is how you're going to attack life this week. This is why you expect greatness. And, I'm not at place in my life where I need therapy. Fortunately, maybe I do and I don't know it. We'll have Laura Neff confirm that in a minute. But the that idea of meditating in lens statements was kind of a little discovery for me in January, similar to music and meditation, was that it is so infinitely more powerful to do that. That exercise alone beats any therapy I've ever had over the course of my life. And I'm not ashamed to say I've had my share. So, Greg, I want to recite yours again because I just love it. I'm a life scientist passionately exploring what it means to be a human being, not a human doing. My research involves finding inspiration, wonder, and wisdom through various creative endeavors in service to all. My methods are curiosity, compassion, and consciousness. Discoveries lead me to joy, gratitude, adventure, and ultimately peace. Freaking Greg Birds. Love it. Deborah, I live with, oh, this is the song, DDK, I live with love and grace and gratitude. I'm humbled by the miracle of my situation. Hearing this last month was such a trip. My buddy Jason out in LA, choosing well-being, consciousness, creativity, passions, growth. I mean, so what I want to point out here is that, the blue words are the virtues that the lens statement is sculpted from. And reminding yourself of these virtues that you're not only living each day or aspiring to, but really like pushing forward and stretching to, it has a compounding, powerful ass effect. And, I'm not a researcher, I'm not a scientist, I haven't documented this, but I could tell you that over the last, 2.5 years since I started doing this practice myself, life has changed considerably for the better. And it's all by this simple practice. All right, so if you got Lens, you know the deal. Here's the number. It's on the Facebook page. I would love for you to go and check it out. I want to hear more of these. All right, that brings us to my friend. I'm going to allow her to reveal herself. Why don't you share your camera, Laura, and I will unmute you. But I thought it would be a good idea, before I just spend the whole hour talking away. Oh! Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. You sound like an angelic flute coming through my ears. So before
that's part of my lens. Part of my lens statement is to be an angelic flute.
It is? You're more like a piccolo. I'm like a bassoon. But the reason I totally cornered Laura last night, super late at night, as I was working on some of this content, I thought, hey, why don't you join tonight? Why don't you join tomorrow? So sorry for the short notice, by the way. But what I thought would be so beneficial would be to have. I was really blown away by Laura's coaching chops at another event that we were in together. And I thought it would be cool to put her on the spot a little bit as a coach and kind of help unravel some of these existential knots for people that are that kind of bind up in the winter months. We'll start with myself, if that's cool. Can I be selfish?
Totally, go for it. Let's dive in.
All right, cool. Why am I so fucked up? No, I'm just kidding. I want to start with your process a little bit. So first of all, tell me a little bit about and I have it here on the screen, but I know you're a certified professional coactive coach, professional certified coach. What was your why in really dedicating your a big chunk of your life to coaching others?
Oh God, we need like 45 minutes.
No, we don't have that kind of time. Just the sound bite.
Well, okay, so yeah, sort of to trace the high level path, I spent just about a decade in corporate America, and throughout that process I was in communications, training, leadership, process development, et cetera, and I noticed it was like little puzzle pieces that started sort of appearing and that would float around me that I would carry around with me, and what really lit me up was anytime I could work with people and help them become better observers of themselves in their lives. Yep. And therefore better able to make changes that had them be more fulfilled. And so it was just like I noticed that, it wasn't a regular everyday part of my job, but creating clarity in the midst of chaos and helping people have that kind of like pull up and out, look at your life, yes. What do you see, what do you notice, what needs to change. Like that was always just thrilling that I got to do that. And then I realized, as I kind of knew all along, that my soul was being sucked dry when I was in corporate America. Which
No, that happens?
true for everybody. Yeah, yeah. Occasionally, I hear it for some people. Maybe I'm just the oddball, but I do know some people who thrive in corporate America, yourself included, which is awesome, but you have to find your way, and you have to make it happen because corporate is not going to make it happen for you.
Totally.
So I left corporate America. My now husband and I converted a school bus and traveled the country for a year, which is where I kind of like I'd say that my creativity got plumped up like from a raisin to a grape again.
Yeah.
And just reconnected with all these parts of myself that I loved. And I saw that, oh my God, there's so many people that live so many different ways, but they're choosing what's right for them, and they're so happy.
Yes.
And so we came back to Charlotte, North Carolina, where we lived, and I tried a whole bunch of different cool ventures, and ultimately I was collecting all these puzzle pieces, and I found out about coaching. And it was just like one day, you know, that it all came together and the angels sung from heaven, and then I found this amazing program that I dove into and just haven't looked back, and that was 8 years ago.
Yeah, so you have all these certifications, and what I was so impressed with you is that you have, and sometimes I have a similar type of thing, but it can be a curse as well as a blessing. But you have this ability to read people and to kind of cut through the core. Like when Ron Burgundy says to his small dog Baxter, "You cut to the core of me, Baxter." It's something like that. So what's your process for when people, you know, you start with people at all different types of levels when they come through your door. You know, some of them have it all going on and they just want to accelerate into the atmosphere. Other people are just trying to pick up the pieces and like are freaked out or maybe depressed. But, you know, where I'm going with this, I'd love to give some people some tools to do a little bit of that self-assessment and kind of see where they are and if they're ready for or in need of you know, help from coaching.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one thing I want to clarify from what you had said earlier is that, so if somebody comes to a coach and is curious about the coaching process, whether it's right for them, et cetera, and they're actually experiencing like serious depression, clinical depressions, cycling in and out of depression, that's actually not the territory of coaching.
Absolutely.
So yeah, coaching is very much where are you now? Where do you want to be? Let's partner up and figure out how to get you there. What's been keeping you? Like, what are the patterns and habits you might be in unconsciously that are keeping you from getting there? Where do you want to be? And let's dive into that. So, you know, therapy actually will look back on your life very often and say, what happened back there that got you to where you are now?
Right.
And what do we need to heal so that you can move forward? So just different territories. There's some gray area in the middle, but just a little clarification.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, like, by the way, everybody, in case you haven't gathered, I am neither a doctor nor a therapist nor accredited. I'm a dude that meditates a lot, that tries to share my own clarity. But in terms of those, the idea of habits and stuff, I mean, is that something you explore pretty regularly in your work? Is that like a primary component with people? Like you really break apart what they're doing day to day?
Yeah, and it can be, you know, what are the restrictive habits or the sabotaging habits that, you know, we all get into that we just don't know. And so part of the benefit of having somebody outside of you, you know, digging into this stuff is that a lot of times as a coach, I can peg that, I can see that, and I can name it, and then we can do something about it because it's out in the light of day.
Yeah.
You know,
oh, wait. You just said a really interesting term, light of day. I thought it was just a great idea. Why don't we're in the trust tree, right? We're in the vulnerability cavern. Why don't we each share our most self-destructive habit that we've identified? Okay.
Sounds good.
Who wants to go first? You?
I'll go first. I'm up for going first.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, no problem. I tend to trust that like most of humanity is in the tree of trust. Sometimes people surprise me, but I go with that. Yeah. So one of my most repeating habits is to, and I think a lot of people can resonate with this, is to get on a really good track with whether it's my exercise or my dietary choices or whatever is important to me, and then just like, you know, letting something. So you talked about winter, right? Winter is a circumstance. Circumstances happen to us all the time, every day. Life happens outside of us.
Right.
So it's our choice. What do we do with that, right? So when I'm on a good tip with whatever I'm working on, something will happen. I'll get a cold, or, you know, something will knock me out of my routine. And one of my most destructive habits is that I just let it happen, and I just slide on down that slide. And then it gets to a point sometimes where I will, I'll become aware of it, because I start feeling shitty, you know, whatever it is, mentally and physically, and I'll have to sometimes take it so far that I'm on my own nerves or it feels I'm so over it, then I'm willing to change. And that's,
Yeah.
you know, I'm working on consistency. You know that about this year for me is a lot about discipline, consistent. I believe in very firmly in small steps. I don't call them baby steps. I call them short, powerful steps. So that's my focus right now is I'd love to break away from that and not choose that. If that pattern's not changing, I'm choosing it. So I don't want to choose that.
Yeah, totally. You know, Melissa Galt, you know, who I know that you know as well, she said that she takes projects to 95 completion but fail to launch. It's a lot of, or most of my life. I mean, I think what she mentioned, by the way, and what you mentioned, so common with humanity in general. I think that's a human trait. And in your defense, Laura, I will say that you are my favorite meditating buddy because you show up every damn day because we see each other on Insight Timer. So when I'm finishing my time, she's starting hers or vice versa. We send each other little notes. And I've just been truly so impressed with your consistency so far this year. And I would love, you know, selfishly, I'd like to know if you've had, has it helped at all? I mean, are you seeing like...
Yeah.
As far as the Cornerstone
It's been amazing. In fact, I just sent Melissa Galt a little note on Facebook because I was like doing a little cheer with her because I've never been a consistent meditator. Consistency has not been a part of my exploration of meditation. Right. And thankfully, like, so this is something I really want to tell people when you look at like how do you get into habits, keep them going, etc. Accountability is everything. It's so important. And you have been an amazing accountability partner for me. Even if, like, if I log on there and you've meditated 75 minutes and I'm hitting 15 minutes, I'm like, oh, well, this is what I'm doing. But it
works both ways, too.
You'll see that.
It's like, I'll never be the dude at the gym that walks up next to you and be like, Laura's here, I'm going to max out so she can see my guns. but I will be like, I got to put in 75 minutes today because she's here, you know, like she's doing her 15. So it works in both ways, you know. So let me
I will say just one little quick thing about that almost every day something really cool floats in the middle of my meditation. Like yesterday it was this idea of like, what if I just go with the flow of life today instead of fighting what happens to me today? And like being angry about something, whatever. Like, what if no matter what happens, what if I go with the flow? And I wrote, there's a little journal function on that app, which I love, and I'll like write it down so I can go back to it, and it makes a huge difference. So
well, that's so well documented in the research around neuroplasticity, like that flexibility and that agility to adjust, because we live in a world where if you don't bend, you will break. And I loved your story you told me about you guys loaded. She owns this amazing vegan food delivery business called Nourish. It's its own phenomenal thing. And you loaded up the entire cart, the entire giant shelf of food, all the deliveries, and the thing spills. And it was like one of those things that would have sent you all over the cliff before, but because you're kind of in your space, you were just like, you know.
Okay.
Exactly. So that happened. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what we've got to work with. All right.
Oh my God, I can't tell you. Like, despite my generally happy demeanor, you don't know how many times a day I'm holding a raging, screaming toddler. My son Leon, he's in this like screaming fit stage, and I'm just like, if I didn't meditate, like one of us would be dying right now. You know. Well, let me share. Just to be fair, I'll share my number one self-destructive habits. All right, number one most self-destructive habit. There's so many that it's hard to choose right now. Fortunately I've conquered a bunch of them, but I'd say my number one right now is overcommitment. I get so I'm fortunate to be a jack of all trades. I can be proficient at many different things. So and I'm eager, and I'm an eager beaver. So I get talked into doing all sorts of shit that I shouldn't be doing. And just recently, this week, you know, with work piling up again and stuff, I'm recognizing how I need to be totally fully in my power to just say no and really try to start differentiate my true work from my shadow work or would-be nice work. But it's been a theme all my life, and I'm getting better at pruning the little bonsai tree, but it still kicks my ass once in a while. So there you have it.
Yeah. So there's some really cool inquiry to do around that, which like what comes up for me when you say that is you call them virtues, I call them values. I think we're talking about mostly the same thing. So, you know, like what I get curious about hearing you say that is Like, what are the values that you are deeply honoring when you say yes? You know, when you say yes to the right things, like how are you living fully into and from those values? And then where's that fine line that whatever those couple values are, they kind of get hijacked and distorted, and you're saying yes to everything, right? And then, you know, really becoming aware of like, what's the trigger? What happens? What kind of state am I in when I keep saying yes instead of stopping and saying that strong no?
Right.
So just from a coaching perspective, that's kind of some inquiry that I would have for you around that.
So you're essentially saying that I'm beyond hope.
Mostly that's what I'm saying. Yeah, way to read into what I was saying.
Oh yeah, no, I mean that's what I love about your style is that it's just very casual and very you're like a friend of the world. You have a very authentic voice in that regard. Let me ask you, so for our friend who's struggling with the winter issue that some other, by the way, some people have been sharing some pretty sweet terrible habits in the chat box.
Nice.
Catherine Hess, all caps, Oreos.
Yeah, my crack is little mini powdered donuts.
Oh, really? Yeah. You own a vegan food delivery service? That is a filthy habit. That is filthy.
Now you know. I've told the world.
Yeah, I love it. I always tell my wife thinks that I'm like a health food purist in public, like for this work, you know, like, oh, I'm drinking my alkaline drink and eating lots of salads and stuff. And, you know, then I'm binging on Oreos or Doritos in filthy secrecy in my car. And I emerge with like a Cheetos mustache and I'm like,
yeah, what? No, under my fingernails? Nothing. What? I don't know.
Yeah, everybody's got those little food demons. Mine currently is if there is chocolate in the house, I will find it and eat it. So I try to throw out the kids' crappy Valentine's Day chocolate because I know Dad will eat it. Makes everybody sad. All right, so yeah, another one that somebody brought up here. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We're going to cover the woman in the beginning who said, you know, tough time with winter. You know, what type of process would you recommend? And like everything's on the table. Would you say, you know, consult a doctor, consult, you know, just knowing that little scenario I told you, how would you tell her to proceed?
Well, I would definitely have her look at the depression piece and get clear on, like, is that to a point where support is needed for that? You know, I've been there, actually. Totally, you know, being transparent.
I think most humans have been. If you're honest, you have been.
Yeah, and getting support is, you know, my coaching practice is life leadership, and there's so much about that for me that's about taking full responsibility for the quality of life you're experiencing. And so if you're experiencing something that is cyclical and continues to bring you down, getting help can be one of the most, you know, responsible things that you can do. So that would definitely be number one. And then, you know, so kind of what I talked about before, the like winter as a circumstance. So there's a really fun thing here you can do, which is like, well, if winter is just a circumstance, then kind of pull up and out. And if you take the 10,000-foot view and look at you and your life in general, like what is your relationship with circumstances that come into your life that you don't choose? Like what is your general relationship with that, and therefore what's your response? And if your response is usually healthy, you know, and positive and like, I'm going to take on the world, then great. Now what's different about this? You know, what is it that makes you feel more of a victim than more of like someone in creation mode around?
Yeah.
So a lot of really good information can come from that bird's eye view if you're able to sort of pull yourself out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I would also just kind of going back to where you have been focusing so much in the series. So in my coaching practice, no matter who I'm working with, or if they're like an executive in a corporation or a stay-at-home mom or any, you know, I coach all types of people, but we all start at the same place, which is getting them deeply clear on their personal values. Because for me, it's like we peel back all the layers of who we are, what's at the core is our unique set of values, so they get clear on what they are, they define them, and then it's like, then we can move into a place where life feels funky and off when we are behaving and choosing in ways that are out of alignment with who we truly deeply are. Right? So then, so I love that she's already taking steps. If nothing changes, nothing changes. So acupuncture and yoga and those steps are so positive. And so just like ask yourself, like, who am I deeply at my core? What is most important to me in this life and in myself? And how am I choosing in alignment with that? And where am I choosing out of alignment with that?
I love it. Like a little tip, another thing I stole from Abraham Hicks that I use all the time is this idea of pivoting. So when something terrible, when you're reacting to something terrible, and this happened to me just as early as today when I was, I'm taking on a project that just is so massive in scale. I'm still trying to get my head around it. And to ask yourself this question allows you to pivot off of what's hurting you. It's clearly I know what I don't want. What is it that I do want? Just that like little pause to say something is off, it's out of alignment. What is it that I do want? Well, I want to feel, and it starts moving you up the emotional scale to the point where you can start making some clear-headed decisions to keep.
Yeah, what I would add to that is that sometimes even that question of what do I want can be overwhelming because it feels too big.
Yep.
So if that's the case, then break it down even further and say, okay, well, there's so much I don't know here right now. What do I know? Even if it's this much, like what do I know? And then you can start building a little bit of momentum, and then you go into, well, what else do I know? What else is true about this? What else can, so it can be even just a more friendly way to get into that.
Yeah, to get like a foothold. Well, Laura, you are so awesome for joining me on such short notice and being so giving with your time and knowledge and expertise. I want to let everybody know that Laura Neff just launched a new coaching program called Nourish Your Life, and it's such an awesome extension. She's really taken some of these ideas of integrating her work with other areas of her life, and so she has this killer brick and mortar business that I mentioned, the food delivery service called Nourish, and she's coupling coaching around it. But the coaching, I think you could see like how deep the well is with her, but I definitely recommend checking out her stuff. So,
thank you.
Peace, sister. We'll talk soon, okay?
It's been so fun. Bye, everybody.
It's so fun.
Bye.
All right. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I want to get into a couple ideas around work just because I think you're going to see a theme here, and then we're going to jump back to that original theme of wow, who's logged in as me chatting? Laura Neff is the bomb, just saying. I think that's, wow, somebody logged in as me. That's great. Laura was inspiring. Great guest. Michelle, thank you so much, Michelle. Yeah, seriously, Melissa, I agree. When are they going to ship some of that food to Atlanta and Akron? I need some of that stuff. Believe it or not, vegan food doesn't grow on trees here up in Ohio. But there was a great article that came out this week in Forbes. I would definitely tell you to go check this out. How successful people stay calm. Because what I'm really trying... No way! Kristoffer Carter, my namesake. Okay, pause. There's a African-American gentleman, very... like much more put together, much more style, much more swagger than I will ever have, whose name happens to be Kristoffer with a K and two Fs, Carter. So he's my doppelganger namesake. He recently dropped off Facebook. We became Facebook friends because I think we searched our names and found each other. But he is my big, strong black brother from Brooklyn, New York. Awesome to see you in here, Kristoffer Carter. KC, you handsome devil. Anyway, Forbes magazine, awesome article this week, How Successful People Stay Calm. Highly recommend you check this out because you've got to admit that at some level, all of us want success. Success appears in all different forms to everybody. It depends what your standards are. But success is totally getting through the day without breaking into tears. I'd say that's a success on some level, depending on where you are in your emotional journey, and all sorts of professional levels of success. But this article was great at breaking down some of the latest research. And I brought this example up to show you, to kind of hopefully lighten your load a little bit in terms of what you're up against with this winter and workloads and all sorts of stuff. I personally have a pretty intense workload at the moment. However, I'm more excited about everything than I ever have been in my life. But it's this like constant level of uncertainty where I'm starting to realize, like my thought coming out of meditation this morning was that conquering this midwinter stuff, conquering my workload is really about how comfy I can become in perpetual discomfort. So it doesn't get any easier per se. However, the rewards get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm not trying to moan and complain because there's plenty of metrics that are pegging right now that I cannot complain about. Let's talk about workload for just 1 second. They're saying in this article that optimal performance occurs at this mid-level of stress. And again, notice here, boredom and depression. Again, I said it was the trap door to all the bad stuff. This, this idea that we're unhappy because we're overworked, it only holds so much weight, because your work and your workload need to include and factor for some level of stress and tension just to pull the optimal performance out of you. And this was very forgiving for me, because at first, and I said this in one of the base meditations, I said, I used to think that I had to be in this like happy ass, super productive, eager beaver state to just get into a flow state to move a mountain. And it's really not the case. Is that the flow state, as much as I'm resisting this project I'm taking on at the moment, I know that it will raise the bar and pull me towards it, and all of a sudden I'll look back and say, how the hell did that happen? That's how projects tend to get done in my life. And I just want you to pay attention to this idea of some good stress. It's easy for me to say, be an Optimus Prime, not a Negatron, but just being baseline optimistic and being aware of when you're falling into Negatron territory is very key to kind of staying on that path to find that good baseline. Last week, the head of our team gave this amazing talk on flow states, and I'm so fascinated by them because I try to operate in them as much as possible. If you haven't gathered, I'm no productivity wizard by any chance, or by any stretch. And if you ask my wife, she would say I'm the most haphazard, unorganized, sketchy man she may have ever met. However, I am also a guy to call when you want to get mega amounts of shit done and get it done at a very creative level. I don't know how I reconcile those two things. I don't keep a lot of task lists. I don't keep a lot of meeting makers. I try not to ever wear a watch. I try not to overcommit to clock time. But this idea of flow states is so important. And again, look here. What they're saying is that flow happens when the challenge is extremely high and your skill level is extremely high. So if you have low skills in an area but the challenge is high, that's when you have anxiety. I had a lot of that at the beginning of last year when I didn't know curriculum design, for example. But now that I've hacked my way into having some skizzles, the challenge is super high, and now I can trust that the flow state will pull me through. And if given the option of all this, of not having a challenge, of not having skills, I mean, those are not an option. You don't want to spend your life in boredom, apathy, or anxiety. So I'd really ask you to think about this idea of how high some of the challenges are in some of your skill areas and how you could get those two things to intersect. This quote from Stephen Covey kicked my ass last week. Somebody posted on Instagram and I stole it. You have to decide what your highest priorities are and have the courage, pleasantly, smilingly, non-apologetically, to say no to other things. As I mentioned, that has always been kind of an Achilles heel for me. I think a lot of people suffer from it. We want to please people. We want to make them happy. We want to support what they're doing. Or sometimes, the opposite end of this belief system is to be just like we all work with people that just their first response is no. I'm just going to push back no. And that is kind of being a buzzkill to a project or a creative project. People like that, I immediately step around them and just keep going. But the people that know their bigger why, their bigger values, what they're going for, and are able to give the polite decline, think about the polite decline. When can you do that to protect more for yourself, carve out more space for yourself to do all the work we've been talking about? And I love this last part. And the way to do that is by having a bigger yes burning inside. I have no shortage of bigger yeses at the moment. I just want to make sure I'm crystal clear on choosing the right one. All right, so here's my recommendation for our friend at the beginning who is digging out of the snow hellish Mercury retrograde madness, is that Abraham Hicks has this 4-step model of quickly moving yourself up the emotional scale. It is something that I've hacked myself on many occasions to make up for the fact that I don't have a lot of time in my life to prepare for things. So how do I practice for a 2-hour set of music if I haven't picked up my guitar in 2 months? Well, I have to get very comfortable with the idea that I'm going to be up in front of an audience soon, and I take myself through these levels. So are you ready? Is anybody ready to jump into these levels? Because I love these 4 steps. It's pretty kick-ass. Are you guys still with me? Are you mad at me? Does this just get weird? Ruth McKenna is here. Marion Betts, yes, all good, woohoo. This content rocks. Greg Berg, this ain't a game, son. Do you think I'm playing? Do you think the 2014 project's a game? No, I'm just kidding. Things are always weird with you, Casey. Catherine, I respect you for saying that because I feel like you see me in my authentic light, and I treasure weirdness. I treasure weirdness. Weirdness. I treasure weirdness. I treasure weirdness. I treasure. So anyway, 4 steps. 4 steps. Yeah, we ain't fooling around, Kelly Brooks. Ha ha. Oh, Catherine Hess. You know, I didn't mean to, but I accidentally creeped on all your family photos the other day. I don't know how I got down this rabbit hole, but I'm like, Catherine Hess, have I met her before? Have I seen her before? You've written me some beautiful notes from different parts of the earth. And so I saw a beautiful family, amazing outdoor adventures. See, I knew you were weird. No, you're weird for putting all your family photos online. I don't do that sort of thing. I'm very private. Anyway, 4 steps. Here we go. You have to begin where you are. And I would tell this person to start to clearly define where they are. This is the negative specific. Once you're in the negative specific of what are the alligators that are nipping at your ass, you can you could pivot to a more general lens. We'll call this the general negative. And I'll show you exactly how this is going to work. From there, once we're established in the general negative, we could build a bridge to the positive. Believe it or not, you could move in from general negative to general positive. That's traversing that little trap door of boredom and getting over into hope. And then once we're rooted in general positive, probably a logical step, we would go for the positive specific. So let's take our friend's example and apply these. Okay. Here's what she said. I've been really struggling the past couple weeks. I've been trying to keep it to myself so I don't freak people out with how profoundly sad I am. Trying to claw my way out. Don't know if it's winter, Mercury, turning 40, or clinical depression. Okay, so she's in the negative specific. Just check out this little tiny pivot up into general negative. Whatever it is, there's a lot of change happening around me and in the world. Whether the weather just feels intense, isolation is more common in winter, tougher to get out and connect, could use a couple hours outside in fresh air each day or around some new people. So, you know, she's still coming from a place of need, but it's in a more general, like, you could feel a little bit of the vibrational lift. All right, so this is moving into the general positive. These periods come and go. I'm lucky to at least recognize the bullshit. Awareness is key. I care enough to recognize I need to make some tweaks to take extra special care of myself in these harsh conditions. Nobody can say I don't care more than ever about my well-being and happiness. I've recently tasted what it feels to be my most vital, creative self. And this is what I mentioned about her raising her standards. I've known her for a few years, and you know, it's never easy to see one of your friends struggling, you know, in any circumstance. And I don't want to make it any worse than what she laid out, but I can also tell you unequivocally that she has been more committed to finding all these things that make her come alive: better job, better health, better, you know, all sorts of better connections. So I'm trying to, you know, take on her voice a little bit here. And then finally, once you're firmly rooted in the general positive, it's time to get positive specific. Since these periods are in fact temporary, I can control my experience and shorten the rough patches. I can try to focus solely on the things that bring me joy. My life is more full of inspiring people than ever before, and that makes me grateful. Maybe I'll look into being a baby cuddler at the hospital. I just met this woman at this party who has the best part-time job ever. I guess you could go to hospitals and become a baby cuddler and just cuddle babies that I don't want to say nobody wanted, but that just need some cuddling in the nursery. Just like that tactile, like, where I was coming from with this was that, you know, when I need perspective, I grab one of my kids because they remind me how to keep my total expectation of everything crystal clear. They have non-attachment to everything. They're just like little joy machines. And holding a baby is so freaking powerful. Being a baby cuddler would be so cool. I'm going to channel this anxious energy in a productive direction around the house. Fuck it. I'm throwing a party. External conditions don't determine the amount of love in my life. I do. So that was a little bit of a little walk up the emotional scale in a 4-step process. Does that all make sense so far? I know it's easier said than applied. However, you know, I'm happy to make this content available to you guys on the site. Yeah. All right, Marion Metz. I said Wets. I meant Metz. All right, so let's move on. I would also tell my friends that are suffering from the seasonal affective disorder. By the way, my mom was a big sufferer. I think my brother has it too. We all get our asses kicked by old man winter. But I would tell you to try this. I do this in my house. So it's cold ass outside. Whenever the sun's out, if it hits the floor, I actually lay in the sun. If I'm not getting my vitamin D, I'll lay there like a little kitty cat, and I'll look out the window and let the sun hit my face, and I'll try to bake there on my Akron floor like a weird person. Right, Catherine? Judging me. I would also say, try this. Who knew that We Fit Plus could bring my family so much freaking joy? I'm telling you, and by the way, Marion, you just said great idea on the sun thing. All the yogis that have been studying this stuff for thousands and thousands of years, they actually highly recommend, almost require that you spend 10 minutes in direct sunlight every single day. Not available in Akron, Ohio, so you could be damn sure when I see sun come in through any window, I don't care whose room it is, it could be the bathroom, I will go put my face in it for a second. If that's just standing by the window and just having a grateful thought, if that's sitting on a bed in right position. I've tried to turn my wife onto this recently. But yeah, try this. Try this, We Fit Plus. I need to update my Weenie. I'm in the middle. These are my sister-in-laws on the left and my beautiful wife to the right, as well as my daughter Elliot. That just about brings us to the end. Was that kind of a marathon? Did I throw a lot at you guys today? Are you glad you tuned back in? You can be honest. I'm going to take a breather. I'm going to celebrate doing something today. I just wish that I knew how to play maybe a closing song for my friends to make them happier. And how about any questions? Does anybody have any questions so far? Like situations or like snowflakes? Wow. Spitzer. Beautiful comment, bro. Yes, one of these days we need to have an epic summit like WDS, Martin Pig. I would love to figure out ways. What I'm going to recommend to all of you, if you are getting something from these webinars, I would love for you to go to, I meant to set up a page in advance, but how about I set it up tonight? I'll set up a simple post about this particular show, episode 6, and I would love for you to comment, and when you comment, introduce yourselves to one another, to whatever level you feel comfortable, just like a sentence about, your name, where you're from, and maybe your lens statement if you feel that brave, or just something that says a little bit about who you are. I would love to introduce you because I have the, I'm getting a godlike complex, but I have the view of who all these people are in this separate room, but I know you're all siloed. I would love to connect some of you because already some great connections have come from this. I know my friend Cynthia Morris has started coaching a couple people. I love introducing the amazing people I know to the other amazing people, and I guarantee that every single person on this, if you're tuned into these types of messages, you're probably an amazing person in your own damn right, and I could be learning a lot from your webinar, for instance. Yeah, but let's go somewhere warm, Martin. I feel you. All right, so are there any specific questions over anything that was covered today before I send you out with a song? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. There you are. I just want to play music. I feel happy when I play music. Uh-huh. Hello. Come in. Sit back. Brother, tell me, how have you been? I know. Me too. I'm ready for something new. Letting every day wear me down. But I'm over that now. I'm over that now. Yeah. Baby, it's so good to see you back. Heather Stimmelhall. When did we ever go so wrong? You were cold, but I woke up and let it go. And every day since then, I've asked it around, 'cause I'm over that now. Come on, stop and think about it. You wanna waste your time in the bitterness? Come on, let's get the complaints out of the way. The more I stop, the more you think. I swear, the better we get along. Everybody, ba-da-da-da. Melissa Galt, ba-da-da-da. Melissa Killian, all right. Ba-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da. Cynthia Morris, ba-da-da-da. Hello, come in, let's throw some back. People tell me how have you been. I know, me too. I'm ready for something new. I won't let anything weigh me down. I'm over that now. I'm over that now. I'm over that now. I'm over that now. I kind of am. I feel like that really made me feel better. Yes, hell yes. Oh, Greg Berg, that reminds me, everybody, if I could give you a little bit of homework assignments, this Monday, I'm pretty damn excited to be back on my Homeboys radio show. Greg Berg, who's an attendee here, happens to run one of my favorite podcasts anywhere on the internet called Radio Enzo. He has interviewed all of my all-time heroes in this whole space of conscious living, and Greg has one of those unique gifts of pulling the best out of people. So I'm so excited to just let you do the driving on Monday, Greg, and just whatever questions you want to get answered. And it's so cool that you've been part of these, because I really feel like you could, you really kind of know what we're going for here. But as you know, I'm totally open, almost to a fault, to answer any possible question you could ask. But I really encourage everyone to tune in. He does it live, by the way. It's 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour show, hour in-depth interview, and then they're made available online and everywhere. Cool, Greg. I'm super psyched about it too, man. Thanks for having me back. Again, it's an honor to be on it. And that brings us to the end. Was it a good hour? Was it helpful? Greg said he was vibrating at a higher vibrational level than when he started. That makes me damn happy. You know how? You know why? Because oh no, really? All right, you guys have been amazing today. Marion Metz, you are inspirational. Gregory Byrne, you are inspirational. Rita Chan, you are inspirational. About 20 days into your 100-day fitness challenge, girl, you are kicking my ass and trying to be a better, more vital person. Thank you. Cynthia Morris, we'll talk soon, okay? Give me a call. Signing off. This is Kristoffer Carter, This Epic Life. This is Kristoffer Carter, This Epic Life. This is Kristoffer Carter, This Epic Life. More to come. This is Kristoffer Carter, This Epic Life. We're just getting started, y'all. This is Kristoffer Carter, This Epic Life.